grow. You grow when you have a desire to become better, to learn new things. When you listen to a webinar, a conference, a talk, go to courses, dozens of courses, then you are the one who speaks. You grow. You grow when you get up to speed. When you focus on your work, on your customer, on your team, then you become a part of something big. When you raise the bar and take responsibility for your work, whether good or bad. When they ask you for advice. When you create a small revolution or speed up an evolution, then you grow. You are growing because growing matters to you. You keep at it until it's just right. To be honest with yourself and others, to further educate yourself, to become an expert. And if it matters to you, it matters to us. APAM, focus on your growth.
Hello, everyone. Am I audible? I think yes. All right, let's get started. Dear colleagues, welcome to the 5th Annual Autumn Data Conference. My name is Bohdan. I'm head of Data Software Engineering discipline at APAM Ukraine and an organizer of the conference. My pleasure to meet you on this event. Yeah, I would like to admit that you are not just attending a conference, you're joining a moment of data enthusiasts, innovators, and dreamers. Let's inspire each other, learn from each other, and live empowered to make a real difference. Remember, the data revolution is just beginning, and you're at the forefront. Let's write the future together. Moving on. Our conference, which is like fifth event in the row, is a conference to join all the data enthusiasts together. Some quick facts of this conference I'd like to highlight here. So we will be organized in 3 streams, right? There is around 2 case registrations for now. Yeah, it's AI focused, and we have a pretty amount of efforts and time spent to prepare a good content for you. Okay. Also, please be encouraged to ask questions to our presenters. Right. We will be thrilled to announce the results of best questions asked, right? And winners will be nominated with prizes. Details will follow. Yeah. The conference, the history of the conference started in 2018, yeah, with a concept. And actually, this idea and this concept was evolving throughout the time, right? And eventually, we are at the point where we became global, where we have really mature speakers wanted to join our team, right? And I believe it's definitely not the end. So all the ideas, all the like prospective thoughts, please share with us. We will be very encouraged to make the conference better for you. Okay. Yeah, and I'd like you to admit that we all stay with Ukraine. As you remember, there is a war in Ukraine, right? People are dying, right? So despite the fact we still were able to organize this conference for you, right? And I hope that the feedback will be positive. Conferences are organized and divided into 3 streams. This year we have a stream called Engineering Expertise Unleashed, where the focus will be on emphasizing different engineering aspects of of data projects, data platform delivering. Second stream, this is architecture and storytelling team stream, fostering on architecture and very interesting aspects of data development, right? And third one is AI and innovations. To be honest, AI is present in all of the streams, right? AI is sort of our future, I would say. Yeah. Just by the way, at EPAM, like this year, we've got 500 plus ongoing projects with AI and GenAI. So, and this number will grow. And that's why it's important to pay attention to AI and GenAI projects and aspects. Yeah. I'd like to stress my attention to the moderation and to the moderator persona. Today we have 3 moderators. It's Victoria Avdienko. She will coordinate cloud and innovation stream. We have Dmitro Dina, who will look after architecture and storytelling stream. And basically this is a current stream, which we are broadcasting here. And third one, this is Ivan Kravtsov. Ivan is like a very experienced moderator. He's staying with us, I believe, 3 events in a row. And Ivan Kravtsov will be responsible for engineering and engineering expertise on this stream. So moderators will look after to promote the questions from the audience to the speakers, right? And also they will be facilitating our discussion, our conversation, right? And after the presentation will come to the end, they will collect best questions and ask speakers to choose the one for the nomination, for the award. Okay. Yeah. Also, I'd like to emphasize that if you want to communicate directly with EPAM or team and with EPAM structure, right? Please reach out to the links you can see in the screen, right? Yeah. If you're interested to continue to start career with EPAM, you can use the third link. Yeah. If you want to just get some content, share your content, interesting content, you can contact your community, of course. Yeah. For offering, you can use the second link. So, of course, this conference, which is organized by enthusiasts for enthusiasts, right, is definitely nothing without your feedback. Please don't mind to share your feedback with our team, and I promise that all your feedback will be accommodated into our forthcoming events. So I wish good luck to the speakers and also to the whole audience. Guys, please enjoy the content. Thank you very much, and I pass my word to Dmitro, who is coordinator of architecture and storytelling stream.
Thanks, Bohdan, for the introduction. It was great. Dear analysts, engineers, architects, dear data professionals and data enthusiasts, happy to see you here today, and welcome to our annual Autumn Data Conference. So before we start, let's just check a few technical checkboxes and share additional details on the organization part. First of all, for Those who are interested in particular topics, please check the description of the video. And if you need to switch to other streams, the proper links can be found there, as well as the agenda of the corresponding stream. Please be advised that all the agendas are written in GMT+2. So if you are planning to visit only specific topics, you need to adjust your plans according to the time zone you are currently in. For people who might be interested in several topics who are playing at the same time, don't worry, we will have the recording, and recording will be available after the conference in the same link as the translation itself. I guess I hope you are doing great today, because we have a lot of ground to cover, and we need you to be ready to see, to hear, and of course to ask questions. As as it was mentioned before, today the author of the best question, according to our speaker's expert opinion, will be granted a little prize. And this prize is a year-long premium LinkedIn subscription. So don't be shy. We are waiting for your questions, and we will do our best to cover all of them in the Q&A session. And yeah, before we start, and it seems like we are actually ready to start. And let's jump right in. So opening presentation today for our architecture and storytelling stream is the future of data in the age of GenAI. And the presenter here is our senior manager in data analytics and consulting, Mihir Mohanty. Mihir, are you here with us? Can you hear me? Yes, I can.
This is a full screen?
Yes, we can see the presentation properly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, gone are those days when we have dealt with different kind of legacy data architecture, databases, data marts, data warehouses, and anything related to data. Today, we will be focusing more on what's the future of data in the age of GenAI. Having said that, what are the proactive measures that we can take to deal with data-related challenges when we start thinking of adopting GenAI? These are some of the important topics that I'm going to touch upon. How you can think of data maturity. What are those important pillars a business or a CXO or any of the data stakeholders they need to take into consideration to be ready with the data readiness framework now and for future? Also, when we talk about data, how quality matters over quantity, because we have many sources of data where the quantity is multiplied, multifold, and how to derive the qualitative data out of those big databases, data warehouses that we have. And when you have too much of data, we are not only talking about frameworks. I will also touch upon some of the proven methodologies, how EPAM deals with this kind of challenges with our customers and partners. And towards the end of the session, I will be happy to take some questions from our participants. I will not be looking into the chat window for the time being. Having said that, please leave your questions or comments in the chat window. And last 10 to 15 minutes, I will be happy to look into them and get them answered. I hope I am audible to all of you, and you can all of the participants can see my slides. So let's begin the journey. The biggest challenge with any business or IT stakeholder is the data dilemma. I'm sure almost every one of us would have watched Titanic, the big iceberg story. But data is converting to those icebergs now, or I can say data bergs. And there are plenty of blogs being written on data berg. And what you can see over here, what we see on a day-to-day basis is the blue portion of the iceberg or the data berg is, we know that we have maybe 20, 30 databases, 200 data warehouses, plenty of data marts, data lakes, but are they relevant to us? Are they going to give you right kind of insights to take business decisions on a day-to-day basis? I'm sure many of us will agree that answer is no. And on top of those legacy data platforms that we have, the so-called Databricks, Snowflake, Redis, MongoDB, plenty others, the vector DBs, the graph DBs, they are also taking a space on your data platform. Those are the modern data platforms. Now, the biggest challenge is when you want to onboard something new, how you want to do the handshake with your existing or ages data artifacts that you have. And that is something which is visible to us. But if you are a banking and financial services client, as a part of compliance, one need to mandatorily hold 7 to 10 years of legacy data. That's what you see in the bottom of the iceberg or the data berg. And from that, how will you identify and determine that what are those data sets which is relevant to you? And there are plenty of data sets which may be legacy but still relevant. Think of like Sybase or mainframe that your business may be running today. And now there are too many questions comes to our mind when I have legacy, when I have modern databases, when I have vector, when I have GraphDB, where to start, how to deal with it. And that's what exactly we as business stakeholders wonder with too many questions. I have too much of data, but I don't know where to start, what to do, and how to deal with. And those questions you have in your mind, I'm going to address some of them in next 30 odd minutes. So the future of data, we all know and we all recognize that it should be unified. It should be flexible like plug and play, and it should be easily accessible. No business, no stakeholder is going to wait for days or weeks or months saying that, okay, give me 1 month of time, I will look into data warehouses and give you some data. In today's time, every business is expecting the data to be available real time, not even non-real time. And to address this, if we go back to the 80s, 90s, we can see the so-called oracles, databases, data marts were evolving. And that's where the data 1.0, I call it, the foundational of data collection, data management activities were started. And slowly we got moved from data 1.0 to data 2.0 by the time of 2000, where the databases started evolving, and that's where many new technologies came into play. And these technologies also added new features, functionalities to the data architecture, so that the data architecture became more agile, and businesses were used to use the data platforms more effectively and more agile way. Having said that, that was not good enough. Come 2010 or after that, the big data revolution came when the cloud came into play. That's where a lot of new technologies like Apache, Big Hadoop, all of them came into play. And that's where the SDFS system that took into place. That's where every business house, every CIO, CTO realized that, hey, why not you look into the big data kind of architecture, which is scalable, which is agile, which is more of plug and play. Probably that will give better insight, better scalability, a lot of security, and many more things can be done with data 3.0 architecture. But that was not the end of the game. That's where the new era of the vector, GraphDB, the NoSQL databases, they took over from there. And that's where we can see many of the new age databases, they probably fall under data 4.0 architecture. And that's where we are going to focus upon using these data platforms. How can we take advantage of the new features and functionalities, which is AI powered, which is already catering to your needs of data governance, data cataloging, metadata management. And that's where all the new age data solution providers are giving you those flexibility with the data solution. So the billion-dollar question is how this is going to impact to your business, your stakeholders in a positive way, rather than one defining the problem statement every day. And that's where you need to think of what data means to your business and how that can be seamlessly integrated to your business goals, where your business and stakeholders can take the right kind of decisions out of your available data points. And this is not limited to only reporting and visualization. Gone are those days where you can tell your stakeholders saying that, hey, I have the dashboard ready, why not you go and see and consume the data? Probably that's not the need of the hour. So how to deal with it? What are the underlying challenges? Though with my research, I could collect some data points from one of the recently published E&Y report, where almost 50% of the decision makers, they have enough data, but they really don't trust the quality of the data. And this is the first statement I started with. Quality is overriding the quantity, and that's where we need to think of how to derive qualitative data in a very fast processing way, and that's where the stakeholders can take business. And almost 40% of the decision makers also have very genuine concerns related to data privacy, data governance, data residency, data management. So a lot of data challenges are adding fuel to your existing data platform. And close to more than 40% of decision makers also see the data quality challenges related to AI adoption. Everyone talks of how fast I can adopt a GenAI platform, how fast I can build my LLMs, but is this something that you can do in a super fast way if you don't have the quality data? Again, it leads to the data bug, that you have too much of data, but you don't know how to start, where to start. And to deal with what we should do and what should be our approach to deal with this kind of challenges, because this challenge is not going to go away anytime soon. And the way technology is evolving, the way GenAI and LLMs are taking space in our businesses, I'm sure we have to find a way out that how to deal with it. And that's where the framework or the approach I bring into table is, first is look into what are those important pillars where you expect a ROI and you spend more on platforms and you spend too less on the data quality, data governance, data management. Though think of the wastage coming out of your data, how that can be dealt with data wastage solutions at source, rather than doing everything and realizing that my data quality was not up to the mark. And to deal with, have the data governance solutions in place from day one, rather than taking that data governance as a low priority. Whatever the solutions you design for our clients at EPAM, we strongly emphasize on building the right kind of data governance ecosystem so that data governance is not compromised. Also, that is not being taken as a low priority task. This has also been given equal importance, and we have different frameworks to deal with it. Last but not least, when you start playing with your data, changing of data quality, data type, data frequency, data management, data policy, that is being given. And many times we get frustrated that, hey, if there are so much of changes data coming into place just to build a private LLM for my business, let's say, how to deal with it? And the biggest question is, why not deal with it on day one? That's where we need to ensure that change management is part of the data governance ecosystem, and change management will be the part of data ecosystem forever. But to deal with it in a proper way, we need to build the skills. We need to reskill, upskill our team members, including ourselves, so that we know what is happening in the market, what are those new age tools, techniques, frameworks available to deal with poor data quality, and we can deal with it. And these are 7 most important pillars I could carve out from my experience and expertise. I am into the data industry, or dealing with data architecture, databases, and data related frameworks since 15 plus years. And this is what I can emphasize on, and I'm sure many of you will agree to it. So here is the data management lifecycle, who talks about some 10 important aspects that how the data management lifecycle should be. And given the complexity or simplicity of your data architecture, business requirement, and the data ecosystem you may have, you can add more blocks, or you can take out some of the blocks that you think may not be requirement. But I'm sure many of us will agree that these are the important pillars to manage our data management lifecycle effectively and seamlessly, and also proactively. And to have that, the requirements that first we need to have the data strategy defined such a way that it should be AI ready. AI is not something that you onboard overnight. AI is something you don't plan saying that, hey, tomorrow onwards, I'm going to have an AI flavor to it. We have to have the data strategy in place to define from day one, so that data collection, data ingestion, data transformation, ETL, Delta Lake, also your governance, visualization, and reporting need to be taken into consideration in right way with right framework. Having said that, how we bring in that knowledge? Okay, because too many technologies, too many data platforms, too many data ecosystem, they spoil the game. But we cannot say no to it, because every product owner, every business owner, they have these specific requirements. Hence, they emphasize on setting data requirements. And that's where we need to have the right kind of upskilling program in place. Also have the right kind of partnership to understand the requirements for a LLM to be built, or probably or a GenAI solution to be onboarded. And that need to be done right kind of handshake. That's where the right kind of restructuring need to be taken into consideration. We cannot say that, hey, I just have the framework, you come and start working on it and do the magic. That's not going to happen. I touched upon data governance. We have to have right kind of governance ecosystem in place. And in governance, try to have the ecosystem built on as much as possible to make it automated, so that things are managed in an automated way rather than someone doing it manually. MDM, this is a known story since last 20-30 years, the data management, and slowly the MDM getting more complex because of too many data platforms, databases, data lakes, data warehouses. And that also leads to a lot of risk and compliance issues. And all the regulatory bodies keeping an eye on across all the clientele, across all the businesses, that how to minimize the risk, because today the risk of losing data is very, very high, even though cybersecurity systems have improved a lot. And last but not least, the data architecture need to be agile, so that it becomes plug and play to your AI, ML, GenAI, LLM requirements, because that's the future, and that's where we are going to spend a lot of time. And here are some of those core data frameworks. This is not the only list, but just to call out the Apache Hadoop, Spark, Kafka, the AWS, Azure, Google data platforms. Almost every company today have been relying on that. And to have that reliability built in the right spirit and translating that into your future AI and ML use cases, also we need to adapt new age analytic and transformation solutions, like of ML solutions, like libraries like of Sky, PyTorch, TensorFlow, Power BI, Tableau, and many others. And that's where the preparedness comes into play. And that's where we do the handshake between your legacy data platform and how the journey should be moving from X to Y when you are looking for your North Star. Having said that, why the data quality matters and how to deal with it. If I look at the left side of the block, many times we start our discussion with edge architecture. And by the time we understand the complexity of edge architecture, we most of the time deprioritize that what is the to-be architecture should be, because the edge architecture is so complex, too many dependencies, though we always say that, okay, take 10% of the databases, work on it, then remaining 20%, then 30%, to make it in a phased manner, which is also a good practice. But having said that, how we can think of to do a big bang architecture transformation to deal with all the requirements that we have in place, whether it's related to technology, whether it's related to risk, or any compliance related requirements you may have. Because LLMs, the adoption of LLMs is equally balanced between public LLMs and private LLMs that we build. And when we build private LLMs, we have to emphasize on data, and MDM plays a major role that we spoke on the previous slide. And this is the life cycle one can emphasize on. To begin with, if you don't have a data strategy, define the data strategy. And if you don't know how to define where to start, we at EPAM, we have the right framework to begin the journey and to run through the journey for our clients, that how the data strategy should be, where to start, and how the maturity and the transformation should be coming into play. And based upon that, parallelly, you develop the data culture. We strongly emphasize on building the data culture over here by emphasizing on different data architectures, workshops, hackathons, okay, ML modeling. That's where we bring up that culture so that everyone within the organization, they come forward, they participate, they get recognized, and also they learn something new. And that's where we can transform the data operating model over a period of time. When more people come forward, they experience and they play around with the architecture and new solutions, that's where they can fill the gap between the data team and the so-called the bot system or the GenAI models that we build. And also, we need to emphasize that our leadership teams, our partner ecosystem also need to take their help to develop that data org structure so that we learn over a period of time, because the frequency of changing data architecture, the data landscape is changing very fast. By the same time, we also need to emphasize on coaching, training, certification, so that the reskilling and upskilling happens continuously, so that we are aligned with the future data trends and future tech trends. Last but not least, if we do everything, but we don't emphasize on how to retain those employees by engaging in right kind of projects which are challenging, which are not so easy, where they can also learn they can deal with new challenges and use their expertise. That's where we need to deal with the 360-degree view of data management related ecosystem. And the challenges don't end over here. So far, I focused upon how to deal with data to be part of your GenAI journey. But here is the biggest challenge. You have dealt with it, but how you will prioritize. Okay, because business is saying that, hey, I've given you exposure to start with GenAI use cases. I want to see the ROI next 2 weeks or 2 months, but still our prioritization is not changing. And that's where we need to emphasize that what is that cost or what is the TCO analysis that we do. This is a very small table, but if you look in detail, the x-axis, y-axis, the business value is high, and sometimes your cost to build is very high because probably you are exploring something new. But when you take help from the experts like us, we do help our clients understand, evaluate, assess, also on board with the right kind of proof of concept, how you can rebalance the act of high versus low versus low. And this does not happen overnight. One need to go through this data journey, starting from high on the top left corner to low right bottom corner. The journey should be seamless. And that's where we partner and align with our clients, that how you can have quick wins. What are those use cases where you can build quickly, you can see the ROI, and that's where you can subsequently move up in the ladder from quick win to the high value use cases. And that's where our expertise is on table to align your problem statement, your strategy to what is the right kind of architecture that would be fit for your requirement. Because in data, one size does not fit all, neither we recommend. Then how you deal with achieving your right kind of ROI over a period of time. Okay, and will that ROI going to give you right kind of efficiency building within your organization for your internal teams, also outside your organization to your clients, your stakeholders, your partners. At the same time, we can also help you that how GenAI and the right kind of data ecosystem can help you bringing in right value and the positive impact with your customers. Think of for a requirement or a customer query, we used to take, let's say, 2 to 3 or 5 working days. If we can minimize from 5 working days to 1 working day and subsequently put our effort to minimizing to a couple of hours, definitely everyone is going to appraise. Having said that, we also need to keep in mind what is the risk that we bring into system, because every business simply cannot onboard anything and everything related to LLM or GenAI use cases and start working. There should be right kind of ecosystem, right framework. And that's where the last block, implementation framework, that's where we have the right kind of implementation framework, what kind of resources you need to do the implementation, and how you can be part of your, get a good experience in your GenAI implementation journey, starting from data to doing the handshake with your ecosystem, then building the GenAI use cases. So that's where we bring into the life cycle, where whatever we do, look into your problem statement, we treat that as a value to your customers and partners. And that's where we build different personas rather than going round robin. And on those personas, we create different pillars on our data architecture, how those pillars can help meet your persona requirements rather than making it generalized. And that's where the data platforms play a major role. And we strongly emphasize on putting those the business personas, user personas. User personas can be a CTO or a CXO or a chief sales officer or a CFO of any C-level executive. And on that basis, we work both on tech side as well as data side to do the right kind of handshake. I would strongly emphasize on this data strategy that we look into, and the way we start our journey with our business or the stakeholders or our clients is, first we'll understand what is the business strategy that you have in mind. What is the business journey that you want to achieve starting from today for next 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, and 36 months minimum, so that we can partner with you to define that strategy. And along with that, we will work on those data pillars. Of course, we have the expertise on app, technology, application development, integration, cloud, and other areas. But I'm focusing on data because data strategy also will do the handshake with the other stakeholders that I called out. And we help you to define and put the right kind of framework in place to define the data architecture, how it should be. What I mean by data infrastructure, you may have the on-premise storage solutions, database solutions, or probably on-premise with a little bit on cloud or a hybrid infrastructure. We can help you to put that data infrastructure in place with the right sizing, right tools, right frameworks, how the data infrastructure can be transformed to maybe a cloud or multi-cloud infrastructure. And we have right kind of a data engineering team who have expertise on AWS, Azure, Google, Databricks, Snowflake, Oracle, SAP, Salesforce, and other areas where the engineering team helps in defining the architecture. Also, they help in doing the right sizing, that how your to-be architecture should look like based upon your target state requirement, based upon your analytic requirement, also looking into your advanced or any other analytic requirements you may have from time to time. And that's where we make it agile so that you can plug and play whatever you need today. Also, you can add or take out any of the data blocks what probably you don't want in future. We have been implementing the data quality solutions end to end because that's the focus area. You may have too much of data, but what percentage of data is of qualitative data which will help give you right kind of ROI, and which will also help you to deal with a low volume of data with the right quality rather than quantity. And that also leads to the next pillar, that if I want to have right quality data, low volume of data, what kind of data governance ecosystem that I need to put into place. And that governance can be only achieved if I have the right kind of data architecture. And in data architecture framework, when we design the data architecture, we look into all the 360-degree of data, incoming data, ingestion layer, storage layer, the transformation layer, if possible between the delta lake where the raw data goes through different stages to clean and to have the right kind of data, and how the data architecture can be agile so that if you hypothetically, let's say someone is dealing with legacy data warehouse and tomorrow someone wants to move to Synapse on Azure, how that architecture can be agile. Or probably someone is already on Databricks and they want to move to Databricks on Azure or AWS. That's the kind of agility we bring into the table in terms of defining and transforming the data architecture. Last but not least, MDM, that is the most important component of data management ecosystem to deal with any kind of requirements related to analytics, AI, ML, business intelligence, artificial intelligence. And to deal with it, we have the right kind of program management insights, and we have a proper ecosystem starting from how to deal with your stakeholders, defining the program plan, defining the operating model, and also doing the program governance so that there is minimal leakage or no leakage in the program management lifecycle. And last but not least, change is constant. The changes can happen at organization level, architecture level, product level, OEM level, or business level. And that's where we also partner and work with our clients that how to deal with your change management requirements from time to time. And also we be partner of your, the trusted partner of yours to define those strategy and get aligned with your requirements. And that's where we define and align the program management strategy. And this is our data transformation framework, okay? Whatever I spoke about the strategy on the previous slide, we have right kind of partnership with most of the reputed vendors, likes of Google, Databricks, Microsoft, AWS, Salesforce, Tableau. And that's where we build that ecosystem. And we have right kind of tools available internally to deal with this partnership, to deal with these custom requirements from clients in different times. And that's where we have a flexible approach, whether you have one data partner or multiple data partners in your data ecosystem. We are there to support, guide, and mentor you and your data platform stakeholders to deal with it. That's where we have defined the data strategy, where we not only define the data transformation framework roadmap, we also work on the dependable pillars within your ecosystem, like some business stakeholders, application stakeholders, or anyone else. And also we guide in the change management requirements that you may have from time to time. And while doing that, we also emphasize on how you can develop the data mindset within your organization. And the same thing we are doing internally. Any requirement comes to us, even from our internal stakeholders, we have built those data frameworks where we first look into data points, get a scorecard in most of the cases, and on that basis, we respond to our customers or partners or stakeholders. Though we have developed that mindset and that data culture within our ecosystem, so that we don't only speak, we also implement, we also follow that very strictly and in a very analytical way. And that's where most of the new age data platforms that we look into the business requirements versus what we get from the data platform. And that's where we find what are the business value that we are getting out of that, rather than simply onboarding, then trying to find out how that is going to be useful to us. And that's where we have a data office framework in place, where the end-to-end data building, data management, data governance, data transformation, also data monitoring ecosystem we have built based upon different client requirements, based upon different business challenges that our clients have. On that basis, we do make it customized and agile based, so that that can be implemented and used by them in different scenarios. This is the data framework that we follow very strictly. You can see different business domains, starting from telco, life sciences, retail, e-commerce, BFSI, manufacturing, healthcare, because a healthcare client might be emphasizing on ISO 27001 and HIPAA, versus a BFSI customer might be emphasizing on PCI DSS, also ISO 27001. And that's where we have created these industry layers, rather than generalizing that our data and analytics solution is the horizontal offering. By the same time, we have vertical offerings which is specialized into these domains, so that if any one of our participants belong to any of these industries or something not listed over here, like of airlines, we can work on those lines and we can give you right kind of solutions for those respective industry requirements. By the same time, there are many common layers, likes of governance, likes of data strategy, product strategy, that is again horizontalized, but based upon the client requirement, based upon the aged state of the data architecture at client side, we do work on those lines, defining your data solution needs aligned with your data problem statements rather than generalizing it. There is a huge list of offerings, starting from whether it's NLP, AI/ML, GenAI, computer vision, deep learning, supervised and unsupervised learning. All those tech stacks are part of our data offering portfolio. And internally, we have teams like data engineering, data scientists, data analytics, AI/ML, data product engineering. And that's where we do the handshake internally. And that's where the team adds value to the entire data architecture, to data implementation lifecycle, rather than we focusing upon one piece of it. And internally, we have also built some of the core capabilities in the form of Center of Excellence, starting from DevOps, DevSecOps, MLOps, and many other Center of Excellences, because we don't want to invent the wheel whenever there is a requirement. And every time we don't want to reinvent, because we want to save time, we want to be efficient, and we want to deliver value in the data ecosystem to our clients. And that's where the foundation models are in place. And most of the foundation models are built on some of the well-known data platforms available in market, but this is the small list. There is a long list available. Any one of you keen to understand if there is a specific data platform which you don't see over here, or any functional or technology area that you don't see here, feel free to drop a note, and one of us will be happy to help and guide you where those requirements can be fit and how we can help you in your data journey. Here are some of those use cases. Whatever I spoke so far in last 40 odd minutes, this is what we have delivered. And you can see, starting from RAG, which is talk of the town on GenAI for real-time data collection and data processing for your GenAI use cases. And also you can see we have taken the entire tech stack, starting from Databricks, Azure, MLflow, Unity Catalog, Sonar, PySpark, And also we have some of the clients which strongly they were looking for the AI and ML, the NLP, the natural language processing requirements. That's where the LN, NLP, core NLP, Python, all those new age tech stack. Now we have built the end-to-end NLP solution for our clients. And you can see another use case, which is primarily for anomaly detection, which is one of the most complex job. And this is one of the most complex framework to be built, and to deal with it, we have dealt with the data at source. The data types belong to structured, unstructured, semi-structured, and multi-structured data types, because anomaly detection is not super easy. And that's too, if you have a complex environment like for retail. And that's where we have built the end-to-end anomaly detection model, starting from data collection, ingestion, processing, quality check, governance. Also, we have put up a framework in place how the data should be stored once the data is analyzed and published to the reports and dashboards. And last but not least, on the left side bottom corner, we have designed the end-to-end tech stack for a product switching metrics. And you can see the tech stack is highly complex, starting from Databricks, PySpark, Skytlern, PyCram, and then many others. And that's where it becomes very, very difficult how to collect so much of data on a real-time basis, do the collection, do the ingestion, do the processing, do the transformation, and also help the business take right kind of decisions. That's all from my side. I hope all of you have learned something new, and I'm happy to take any open questions you may have. Let me look into.
Thanks, Mihir. Many thanks. It's really magical how much information you managed to squeeze into time slot this short, and all of this information was really useful. So we actually have a couple of questions in the chat, and the first one is asked by Irena Panasiuk, and that is, what are the main benefits of data transformation framework usage?
Yeah, the main benefits of data transformation framework is, in a traditional environment, you have a database, you have a data warehouse, you have a couple of data marts, and you simply start collecting the data, and data flows from source, and somewhere it lies, and you don't deal with those data maybe after a few months or few quarters. The data transformation framework is primarily used to help you design or the re-architect the data architecture, so that if you know that you have a raw data of 10 TB coming to your system every day, the data transformation framework will help you to find the qualitative data out of those 10 TB of quantitative data to maybe a 500 GB of qualitative data. So the data transformation frameworks helps you to organize your data, to find the quality data. Also, that helps you to optimize your cost. When you have quality data over quantity data, your backup, replication, synchronization, asynchronization costs also optimized up to large extent. So these are the benefits of having the right kind of data transformation framework.
Sounds solid. Thanks for that. And
there are proven methodologies also.
So the next question is asked by Andriy Royko, and it sounds like, what are the EPAM's GenAI ethics considerations? Are there any fields that you avoid working with? What are your personal restrictions?
Okay. Let me answer all the three questions. The GenAI ethics considerations, yes, I spoke about responsible AI. Responsible AI is not a buzzword within our company, within our ecosystem. We take it seriously. And responsible AI is all about dealing with my client's data, my stakeholders' data, my team members' data ethically and responsibly? Yes, we have right kind of policies, frameworks, also governance ecosystems followed with audit happens internally. So we take GenAI ethics seriously, whether it's for internal consumption or for our businesses. And we have ecosystems and defined KPIs for this GenAI ethics measurement. Are there any fields to avoid working with? We don't avoid any fields, but probably we don't wish to enter to some of the fields, probably like of, let's say, drug discovery, or maybe a defense ecosystem where someone is trying to build something which is not aligned with our company's principles. Okay. Having said that, I'm not sure what background, what business you belong to. Maybe if you can share further details about your business, details to our account managers, we will be happy to guide and give the response whether we are working on those domains or not. Because GenAI as a solution, it can be applied in any industry. Okay, but anything specific to your domain, your business principle, your business that may not align with our business principles, definitely we'll have to analyze and say yes or no after hearing more about that. What are my personal restrictions? I, as a person, given a choice, I don't entertain myself to expose a lot of data for anything I'm dealing with GenAI. Okay, because I, coming from data background, I try to limit myself wherever possible, but it's not possible everywhere. But we as a company, we have restrictions that what kind of data that we should not be using from our stakeholders, from our businesses, from our clients, so that we strongly and heavily stick to our principles like responsible AI, so that we deal with data mindfully, ethically, and responsibly.
Thank you for this information. Thank you for the answer. We still have one more question from Mike. And the question is, what is your current quote-unquote favorite data and analytics tech stack, and why?
Yeah, probably this will be a biased response when I speak about non-biased. And given a choice, I would say I look into a very uniformity way the data stacks that we use for our clients. Yes, given a choice, if I have to rank, probably the way technology and the data solutions are evolving, I would say maybe Azure data stack is probably my favorite, but not necessarily always. Okay, but we have we as a company, we as a data team, we have 1,000+ members, though more than 1,000 members data team globally. Though we have expertise, or we have built the expertise not only on Azure but also AWS, Databricks, Google Cloud, Snowflake, Oracle, IBM, and the list goes on. Okay. And the reason I say why it's my favorite, because they have many built-in capabilities, built-in features and functionalities probably one can find in one shop rather than hunting and partnering with too many partners. Probably that will help the clients and partners, our clients and partners, to save a lot of time, focus on business rather than focusing on partnership and paperwork. That's the reason I say that's my favorite, but that's not true always.
Thanks. That sounds good. And while you were answering, we got a bunch more questions, which is great. So the next one is asked by Dankos, and this is, which databases do you recommend to smartly sort data?
I would say sorting data is probably not related to database. Sorting is something you can use features like indexing techniques, sorting techniques. Probably it's not fair to comment any database, but going back to my first slide, the data dilemma. So what kind of dilemma, or what kind of challenges you face only to sort data, which is probably not the only problem statement. But there are many tools available. There are many using Python, SQL, many other ways you can deal with your data sorting activities. I don't know, your data sorting is you're referring to like 10 billion rows, 500 or 5,000 columns. It's too early to comment. I would strongly recommend maybe if you can share further details with respective account managers or leads. I myself will personally look into that, and I will be happy to recommend what kind of database can be right fit to your business domain, and followed with sorting, indexing, whatever you may be looking for.
Okay, thanks. We have one more question from our audience. Sergey is asking, what do you think about Microsoft Fabric?
I'm getting tough questions towards the end of the session. I would, my personal experience is, okay, it's a very non-biased response. Fabric is the future, okay? And Microsoft is leading the way. The reason Fabric is future, think of any business today, everyone wants to be global, scale whatever the way you want to be. Think of the, today is a Black Friday sale going in almost every country, every part of the world, whether it's retail, fashion, jewelries, clothing, and anything, phones. Though the scalability of business is leading to having too many data, too many data components. Okay, the data components may be starting from as small as having a local storage to having too many data warehouses, data marts, big data solutions. Though, having said that, and then that's where probably I said in the first question that Azure is my favorite platform, because Azure helps you to have their own data platforms, data warehouses, analytics, and also all the connecting solutions in terms of ML ops, data ops, DevOps, everything put together. And that's where I see there is a bright future, but probably it will take some time to see the maturity in the Fabric solution, because every other solution provider or data solution provider, they are coming up with their own fabrics. And if tomorrow, like today, we have hundreds of data platforms, SQL, NoSQL, Graph, Vector, many other type of databases, if that becomes the too many fabrics, how to deal with it, probably we need to find a way out. But yes, I see a bright day ahead for Microsoft Fabric, and that will come up with a lot of maturity in terms of not only performance, efficiency, size, elasticity, scalability, security. Everything will be part of your Microsoft Fabric when you put together all your data ecosystem related to your business.
Sounds great. So yeah, we still have a lot of options there. Okay, it seems like we are out of questions from the audience, and in this case, I guess I can use my right as the moderator to ask the question myself, because I've got one while listening to your presentation. You were mentioning MDM as one of the key pillars, and in general, like one of the problems that is very old in this field. The question is, did you have any use cases that already been covered, like that already covered MDM topic, data mastering topic, with the usage of GenAI, and was it how better it was compared to the classical solution with multiple business rules?
If I look into the MDM solution for GenAI, definitely we have implemented end-to-end solutions, but we don't implement like going randomly and saying that, hey, you have a requirement of master data management and let me do some magic for you. Okay, that's not what we do. What we do is we follow the right kind of ecosystem to ensure that we understand what is the challenge that you have in dealing with your data requirements, and how complex or how simple is your data management ecosystem today. And that may be related to starting from data discovery, data mapping, data cleansing, creating the data ecosystem with different schemas. Do you have a schema, Star or Snowflake? Because many legacy businesses today, they don't have a schema, and then they take a lot of effort just to connect two tables based upon a single master key. And that is how we create the data enrichment to the data portfolio that you may have. Okay, and that helps us to bring in maturity to the MDM, rather than just saying that, hey, we will do your data cleansing and data transformation. No, that's what not we do. We do take care of all the pillars of governance, cleansing, enrichment, profiling, creating schemas. And that's how we create quality data out of quantity data that our clients might have. And all these boils down to the topic for this session is how to create relevant GenAI use cases out of that MDM ecosystem. Because we are not doing MDM solutioning just for the sake of creating some data management and leave it as its state. The end goal is, can I derive and can I define the GenAI or AI-driven data profiling ecosystem where I can have right kind of metadata management, right kind of quality to data, data lineage systems. Okay, and that's where the end result of having the right kind of GenAI, and in GenAI, accuracy is the most important output, or probably I would say that is the only most important output. If the accuracy is close to 100, the GenAI or the LLM works fine. And that is the ecosystem we have built internally for the master data management lifecycle.
Okay, thanks. So we basically still don't have a magic wand. We have a great instrument that we still need to know how to use. Okay, it seems like we are done with questions, and before we wrap up, we need to do the final part of the Q&A and decide which question was the most interesting out of the ones asked. So, with the exception of the question about GenAI ethics, because apparently the author of that question already won this competition in the other stream. What was the most interesting question in your opinion?
The interesting question was, someone asked that, what's my favorite data platform?
Okay,
I felt it's a very, very biased.
Yeah,
The data platforms being so broad, so open, and many new data platforms coming into market, it's not easy to determine. The way I look into this, I give my part of the response, but when a business stakeholder asks me, in fact, I try to understand why you need a data platform. That's the first thing. And that opens up many avenues, that what is that something you are not getting out of your existing data platform, data solution, data architecture, MDM, that you want to explore something new. And that's how the framework we put in place for our clients, saying that, hey, this is not about you asking me a question and I saying yes or no. We follow a proper framework and methodology, and we have the ecosystem in place to give you the right kind of advisory, to design right kind of solution, and also do the right kind of implementation, so that you get the experience of expertise that we have, rather than I saying, hey, why not you go and look for, let's say, Redis or Mongo or something else that might or might not fulfill. Hence, that question was probably the most challenging, but also that opens a lot of solutions to our customers, that how I look into in a bigger picture rather than just looking into one data stack.
Yeah, sounds good. So, Mike, congratulations. It seems like you won this one. So thank you very much, Mihir, for the presentation and for all the answers you provided today. And yeah, it seems like it's time to wrap up and move to our next speaker. And the next talk will be done by Vitalii Bondarenko, the data analytics consultant principal in EPAM. And the topic of this talk will be how to migrate from legacy data warehouse to modern cloud platform using GenAI. So we are still on the topic of GenAI, and we are going strong. Yes, Vitalii, are you already here? Hello, I can see you, but you are still muted.
Thank you, and thank you very much for all who joined and waited. There was a kind of technical issue with my mic. Now it's resolved, and would be happy to present the new session for you. That would be mostly about the legacy data warehouse migrations, but also I will cover the architecture topic. We will just go deep inside the architecture of the application which is used for the ETL conversion and the SQL conversion. So for the last 2 years, I was working intensively with my team on that problem, how to migrate from the legacy data warehouse to the more modern cloud platform. And we had different approaches. One of them is using GenAI. Now we combined all them together and created the set of products we used specifically for that kind of migration for our clients. And I will be happy to share with you our experience and answer all your questions. This session actually covers several topics. First of all, we will start from the approach, how to do the migration from end to end, how to do the assessment, what we need to take into account, where the biggest challenges are. Then we will also focus on the specific implementation of that approach in Microsoft Fabric. And finally, as I said, we will deep dive into the architecture for the automated conversion, how we can automatically convert ETL from the legacy like Informatica, Talent, integration services, Microsoft SQL integration services, or just SQL code like Netezza, for example, or DB2 storage procedures, or Oracle packages, how we can convert them to modern cloud platform, data analytics platform like Databricks or Fabric in this case as well, or Snowflake. And at the end, I will show you a demo, which would be a recorded video, and also will show you examples of the code, internal files we used for the conversion. My name is Vitalii Bondarenko. I'm a technology consultant principal in data analytics. In general, I have 25 years of experience, started as a data engineer, and now I'm owning here at EPAM practice for cloud data migration, and we have in this practice different teams, specifically team for delivery, right, dedicated specifically for delivery, team which is most involved in pre-sales and data consultancy, and team who actually focused on the product development like ETL conversion, BI conversion, assessment tool development, data testing tool development, etc. So development of the tools. I'm a public speaker, so I participated almost all conferences in Ukraine before COVID time. Now it's kind of switched to another kind of work, and the influencer of the community as well. So the first topic, what is migration of the legacy data warehouse? I will quickly go through all those first slides just because we are limited in time and was kind of delay at the beginning. But if you have any questions, just please keep them till the end, and I will answer all those questions at the end. So if you look at the legacy data warehouse, it consists of 3 major systems, right? We can just decompose it to 3 major systems. First of all, the data warehouse, kind of data engine, right? Database engine. Also something which is called upstream and downstream. And you see it on the screen at the moment. So upstream means any integration with the legacy systems, which actually for data reading, right? For data ingestion. As you know, analytics is mostly batch processing system, mostly. Also, it could be some part for the real-time analytics, but when we look at the classical data warehouse, it's 99% batch processing, and it's mostly not real-time data where we can just change it immediately, right? There are not updates, frequent updates at least. There are not transactions inside the database. It's a mostly stable database with scheduled updates in a batch approach regularly, where data is coming from the legacy systems. It could be operational databases, ODS, it could be some applications, whatever. But in general, upstream is the ETL process, extract, transform, load. Downstream is a kind of analytical application that mostly reports in reporting BI tools like Power BI, Click, Tableau, MicroStrategy, Cognos, or could be also custom applications where the analytics is processed inside that application and visualized with a custom dashboards built mostly in JavaScript. So when we look at this system from that perspective, so we understand that would be migration of the three parts of the data warehouse. We cannot migrate only data warehouse and think that all other parts will be untouched. Even if you just change the data engine, for example, you change in this combination of Informatica, Oracle, and MicroStrategy, you change only Oracle from the cost perspective, just cost optimization perspective. Even if you change it to the Databricks or Snowflake or any kind of BigQuery, for example, any kind of a cloud-native data warehouse, so you also need to do the modification in upstream and downstream as well, because you would need to adjust queries. The approach, how the cloud data warehouse works, completely different. It's mostly editable tables, so there are no kind of possibility to just send update for all tables, right, and just change the one column there. So it's mostly edited files and then tables as we had with transactions as we had in Oracle database. So that would change the concept first of all. Then the design of the architecture would be changed a little bit, because you would not have kind of data marts and everything what is not data marts, so staging and some processing layer. That would be close to that, but mostly realized on data lake. And also the connection itself. So if you had DBC connection to database before for reports and for ETL, so now the concept would be changed, and even the amount of files would be bigger than the tables you had before. So that means that it always modernization for all three packages, so all three parts of that system. And if you look at this screen on the table with the different strategies of the migration, so you know that in a classical architecture approach there are 6 R, right? But here it is applicable only 3 of them: lift and shift, replatform, and re-architect. In case of re-architect, I believe it's straightforward. We just redesign everything from the scratch and migrate only data. In this case, we need to map data from the existing schemas to the new schemas if schemas are changed, right? But in this case, you know, when you're designing that from the scratch, it actually brings the higher complexity in all these projects, just because you would need to rethink and do the reverse engineering for all logic you have at the moment in the system and design it from the scratch again with many modifications you'd like to implement, right? Because to make it more harmonized, right, implement all those new concepts like data mesh, for example, etc. Make it more scalable, remove all these parts which actually created the problems with maintenance, etc. But that actually good approach, but unfortunately you would need to go all this way, all those decades you develop this system to rethink everything. Maybe you can shrink this time just maybe to several years, but again, it will be a huge investment, definitely with the biggest value. Another pole of that is a lift and shift, when you just take the virtual machine with the same Oracle, Informatica, and MicroStrategy and put as they are with the minimum modifications, with the small changes in configuration to the cloud, just connect them together, and it would have absolutely the same system you had before in on-prem, right? But what would be the value of that? That's the biggest question. So you definitely migrate it to cloud, but there is no changes in your system at all. Maybe some even issues. And in the middle of this architecture strategy approach, right, there is replatforming. It means you just take the same logic and just re-platform it to the new technology. For example, if you had Oracle before, you would like to migrate to Databricks instead of Oracle, right? Because it's analytics. There is nothing you would use from transactional, for example. You don't need a transactional resolution layer. You don't need a log for the database just to roll back the transactions or something like that. There are lots of things which are not used in Oracle, and you still pay on it for it, right? And that's why you need to migrate to something which is more adapted to data analytics, and currently there is systems like Databricks, Fabrics, Snowflake, etc. You would need to redesign the ETL to make it more scalable. And again, in case of Fabric, you would migrate to Data Factory, sorry, or Spark. And in case of reports, you also would like to change the reports. Definitely, you would do this not maybe just at the same time, but that's another topic, right? What would be the pattern of the migration? Would you migrate everything like in the big bang, or you do it by systems? For example, first you will migrate a data warehouse, then ETL, then reports, or vice versa, reports and then ETL, or you would do it by workloads, right? It's another dimension of that migration, another way how you think about migration. Migration by workloads means that you would take only one department in your organization, for example, marketing, prioritize it as the department which actually brings the biggest value after modernization like that, and migrate it to the cloud, scale it, and actually take the benefits of that. Or, for example, you have lots of issues with delivery at the moment, and that's because of limitation of the computation layer, limitation of the existing systems, absence of AI, and all these things you'd like to implement just to improve and empower the delivery process. You just cannot do that on-prem because you see that it will be huge investment in your infrastructure. And that's why you're thinking about migration to cloud and prioritizing of the delivery as the first workload for that migration. And that's another vision, another approach. So in case of lift and shift strategy, this migration by workloads doesn't make any sense because you would migrate by virtual machines, and that would be almost a redesign of your architecture and synchronization between virtual machines which still stay on-prem and present in cloud. In case of re-architecture, that would be the highest value because you will redesign all your delivery processes and maybe just rationalize them. But again, as I said previously, high complexity. But in case of re-platforming, it also actually not so expensive, like in case of re-architecture, but at the same time, it brings that value of the migration by workloads, because you can do the first release to production in much shorter period of time, and that would be actually the biggest value for you because you migrate exactly what you need to scale, exactly what you need to modify that specific workload. Again, the migration itself is not just small POCs or just MVP projects sequentially executed. It's a huge process because it's not migration just of the data warehouse, it's migration of your whole business, because all departments are reliant on that analytics you produce in your data warehouse, and that's why it's a huge change in the business itself. Also, there is some part of modernization on it because there are a lot of complaints from the different departments about the existing analytics, and this rationalization also just will make some influence on the processes they currently execute. So that's why there's kind of sequence of the phases, I would say. First, we have learn and plan phase, which actually assessment and design. And the goal of that is understand the migration strategy, which actually was described previously, and finally calculate the cost of that migration, because 99% of the migration projects fail because of the lack of understanding of the cost and complexity. And that is actually coming from another problem, dependencies, because a legacy data warehouse, which were created for the last 20 years, are very complex in dependent to other systems. And when you migrate one part, you understand you would need to migrate everything else. It's quite difficult to migrate by workloads in this case. And understanding of these dependencies, isolating the specific workloads, and then prioritizing them, understanding the cost of that migration by workloads, actually give you the biggest value and save you from that fail at the end of the migration. Next, we do MVP, which actually prove that approach is right, and the vision of the dependency isolation is right, the cost is right, and we have enough competency inside the team for the migration, etc. And then we scale. Scaling means that you can execute several workloads or several parts of the system in parallel. So you don't need to migrate sequentially and do it in several years migration. You can do it kind of in parallel and migrate, for example, marketing and delivery and manufacture at the same time with some shift. And dependence actually give you understanding what would be the shift, what is the core, what is common for those three streams, for those three workloads. Then support and improve. Improve is always that shift from that legacy you migrated, right, to something modern. For example, you wanted to build the data mesh, but you understood that you realized right at the end that building the data mesh from the scratch would be quite high complex, right, and expensive task for your organization. And you decided just to migrate with priority some workloads to cloud, re-platform them to the new technologies, which actually give you scalability and flexibility in cost. And then finally, you can start building a data mesh. So that's kind of the approach of improve at the end. Also, the GenAI implementation and the real-time analytics is always the challenge in on-prem solution, and is, I would say, mostly present in cloud technologies, so you can insert in this improve phase. Before we go to the details of the migration to Fabric and to the implementation of the automated conversion, I would like to give you the more details on the vision, how actually the ETL and data warehouse migration executed. So if you look at the bottom side of this picture, you see that it's on-prem and the top side is cloud. So on-prem, you have a data flow, which is a white line, and we see it starts usually from the data sources, then we have extract logic, then we have some raw data staging, whatever, some logic, which some data is actually is a reflection of the data in the data sources. And then we have transformation and load logic, and finally data warehouse with data marts. So and the data consumers, like the downstream reports. This flow need to be migrated to cloud with replatforming. And if you look at this picture, you see the approach, how it actually can be migrated. First of all, let's start with extraction logic. So usually extraction logic can be implemented as it is, or with a replatforming to some ingestion framework, which actually map the source tables to the target tables, API to the files, and just do the simple mapping and schedule the jobs for the simple data extraction and load to the data lake. And that can be implemented in many tools. The good example of that, Fivetran, when you can just select the API or files or tables on the data source side and select the target and create the mapping. So just load everything what it is, what actually present in data sources to the files in a data lake. Then we have the next part of that ETL system is raw data. Raw data or staging would be represented as a bronze and silver layer in data lake. And you see on the top picture that silver layer would be created from the scratch. Sometimes it makes sense to reload the historical data on those two layers. Sometimes it doesn't make any sense. So also the point of consideration. Then we have the transformation and load logic, which usually implemented in ETL, like Informatica Talent, or also some part is implemented on storage procedures in data warehouses. This logic should be mostly, again, present in XML files, in those low-code tools, and also in SQL code in databases. So this logic can be converted automatically. And the idea here is just to improve this process of the transformation, just to create the ETL converter, which actually can convert a SQL and simple ETL pipelines. Definitely, as you change, if you change in the architecture of the data warehouse, it's not only the data tables, right? It's a huge data lake with an absolutely different approach for the data processing. You would need to adjust your ETL in load and transform logic for that new architecture. And if you see that on the side on premises, we have transform and load, but in case of the migration to the cloud, it would be mostly load and transform, right? So that actually gives us understanding that it wouldn't be one-to-one conversion. There would be definitely some changes in converted results, but conversion itself actually speed up the process of this migration. You would need, if you have kind of the pipeline when you just take the table, do the simple transformation and validation, and at the end you just insert it into another table. The only thing you need just to change files in that logic instead of tables, right? And this transformation will be quite faster if you have the all logic transformed to PySpark, for example. You would need to go through the PySpark code and change just pieces of code inside it, inside these converted pipelines. Also, it would be quite difficult to convert such things like cursors, for example, or specific constructions inside the statements inside the SQL code, which are not present in Spark or Spark SQL. So that's why we, on the moment of assessment, we identify all those parts which are quite difficult to convert automatically to the complexity number 3 or large complexity and convert them manually or with EI. And finally, the only part which is missing is data marts. Data marts are converted quite easily just because it's a schema conversion, just table definition conversion. And on the serving layer in a cloud data warehouse, we also usually have some kind of a semantic model, or for example, the data marts in data warehouse, and that would be mostly schema conversion and data transfer. And as you understand, that's a long process of the development, so we cannot just easily move the data as a one snapshot. We always need to do it sequentially with the deltas, right? We do the first initial load, and then in a moment of testing, deploying new fixes, moving to the UAT, understanding the changes, again, fixing. You would need to reload data, but not completely, because it will take maybe in a week, right, just to load the terabytes of data. But you would load the deltas from the last snapshot. And finally, you do the reconciliation. You connect to the data marts in cloud, to data marts in on-prem, and just check if data is the same. If there were some changes in schema logic or data processing logic, you would need to take into account that when you do the reconciliation and generate the reconciliation report. That's exactly how the migration looks like from the kind of helicopter view. But if you go deep inside the specific target, like Fabric, that also has some specific. First of all, for those of you who didn't have experience previously with Fabric, I would like to say it's quite new too. Some parts is still in preview, and that is a good approach how to implement data lakehouse inside the Microsoft Azure. You know that previously Microsoft were mostly relied on the Databricks technology, and in case when we used the sophisticated data lake with the lakehouse approach, we used Databricks. Now Microsoft would like to implement that approach in their platform, Azure, just as a Microsoft product, and it's called Microsoft Fabric. So in Microsoft Fabric, the biggest shift is from the platform as a service approach to software as a service approach. Previously, we had the Azure platform with lots of products like Data Warehouse, Data Factory, Power BI, Spark cluster, right? And everything was kind of separated on the level of infrastructure. You needed to integrate them together manually and then configure the monitoring and data monitoring, process monitoring, and also the security on all those tools. Now, at the moment, those tools are combined in one product, which is called Fabric. You have only one login there and sign up, and when you are in, you have access to all those products. But those products are not called anymore as products. It's kind of a workplaces, or it's called also in terms of Fabric experience. I can look at the same things from another experience, from experience of data engineering, experience of data warehousing, experience of data science, or Power BI. If I'm a Power BI user, I can have access to all those pipelines, scheduled jobs, data warehouses, data lakes, but looking at that from perspective of Power BI UI, right? And the same from data engineering, data warehouse. So in general, Lakehouse is approach how to work with your data lake when you send queries, execute notebooks with the PySpark code, integrated with the serving layer in data warehouse, execute data science, execute real time, and build the reports on top of the data lake, just having only one product, only one environment. Another approach here, which is implemented, is one lake. And the concept when you don't need to copy data between the different products. They always stay in one data lake. And the semantic model is a good example of that, because previously we had semantic model in Power BI, and usually users copied data to all those semantics model just to have fast dashboards. Now semantic model is implemented in all those products, and it means that you can just easily access data just having the semantic model. And on the same data tables, you would have kind of data entity, I would say. You would have different semantic models, and they will be presented in reports, right, in dashboards. If you look at how the data processing flow is presented in Fabric, it's almost the same. As I said, mostly the focus is on the user experience approach. But Lakehouse you previously used in Databricks is almost the same approach as here in Fabric. So we have the ingestion layer with orchestration, and we kind of one shift, this more probably was new here, is a shortcut when you can create the virtualization for the external data sources and have the federated approach to the querying the sources, just having the code inside your data lake. It means you can shortcut your data warehouse, which is not a part of your even Azure. You can also create the shortcut and have a reference to the external data storage like Amazon S3, for example, and kind of the way how you can create as a Unity catalog. You can create the view of all your data sources as they're presented in your data lake. Then when the data is ingested, we have all those three layers in a medallion architecture, landing based, curated, or just bronze, silver, and gold, and finally the serving layer. And as you see, the paradigm here is just to process everything and load and transform logic using Spark in notebooks, exactly like we had in Databricks. And finally, the server layer can be just SQL endpoint, and you can access your data on a gold layer in files, or that could be the semantic model, well, the same approach, but the data is presented in some model which can be used like fact tables, dimensions, measures, and everything what you usually use in BI. And definitely you can load it to the data warehouse and actually pre-calculate in another way, use SQL storage procedures, views, which actually will be mapped to the external files in data lake, etc. So that all approach we had before is currently present here, and mostly combined it together in one unified platform, which is called Fabric. If you look at the migration approach, it looks like that. We have the database of file storages. Then we need to build the ingestion and all those three layers, and finally the serving layer. And the steps of the migration would be like on the slide. You will do the ETL data ingestion, first of all, just to be sure. That can be, again, sequences not always the same as you see on the slide. There could be in different approaches. Some people start from the reports, for example, and that kind of long way when you just integrate data marts on the migrated and not migrated system and just see if you're capable to use the new reporting tool on the new serving layer, and then just migrate layer by layer, and finally the ingestion layer. But another approach just starts from the ingestion from the data sources. So when the ingestion layer is built and you have all those sources in one lake, it's easy for you to start the modernization, right? You don't need to migrate everything as is. You just start the modernization because you have access to all data sources. Then the ETL transformation, mostly to Spark. Then the data marts, and finally schedule the job, configure the security, and migrate the security if you have 1,000 users. And at the end, you do the AI enrichment, exactly why you started, right? Probably the first reason was decommission of the legacy system, because in the case of legacy, you need to pay separately for all those three parts of the data warehouse, for Oracle, for Informatica, and for MicroStrategy. You pay for them separately. In this case, you just have only one license, and you pay for the resources you use, and you can scale and manage and be very flexible in this cost management. And AI actually would be easily implemented because there are lots of services currently present in Microsoft Azure and integrated, by the way, in the form of Copilot, first of all, with your reports. How to do the automated conversion, how to build the tool like that, right? And I will share our experience. So first of all, as I said, we use two approaches. First of all, for the simple complexity, for the small, medium complexity, and the complexity is defined during the assessment. We execute the scanner. The scanner goes through all ETL files, all tables, views, stored procedures, reports, whatever you have in those three systems, right? Upstream, downstream, and data warehouse. And each item is scanned and analyzed and evaluated by the complexity level. So we know the complexity of each item. And then actually give us possibility to separate the conversion on two streams. The first stream is the rule-based conversion, when we just simply change the pattern in the source code to the pattern in the target code. For example, we had a cursor with some sophisticated logic inside, and we have the answer how we actually should convert it to Python. And we do the transformation. So we do that usually using intermediate language because it gives us some flexibility. And the only thing we need to do is just to create the rules, how the pattern in source can be converted to pattern in a destination. When the complexity is high, manual work is important here, and we try to speed up this manual work using GenAI. As you know, GenAI can generate code. We just need to explain how exactly they should be generated, and the easiest explanation is code from another system. So that kind of a very straightforward idea. Instead of saying in English what exactly you'd like to develop, just take code from the previous system and show it, right? It's not so easy because there are lots of system functions which are used and wouldn't be present in the target system. There are names of tables, some specific framework concept, whatever, inside, which could be quite difficult to explain, even if you just have a code. Even as a human, you sometimes you would not be able to understand what is inside. And that's why it's an iterative process. Finally, when you can convert both of them, small, medium complexity, large x large, there's a process of validation, code validation. In case of the rule-based conversion, validations is quite simple. We don't need to review this every single line of code just because it's a reliable conversion. We know exactly what will be generated. In case of LLM, even if we send the request 2 times, you would usually have different results. So that's why we need to review all code before we moving that to the higher environment. And if you look at the process of GenAI transformation, it's not kind of a copilot. So we tried to automate this process even here. So it usually process with integration with Git. We have pipelines in Git, and we commit everything in one code base, what should be converted, and put the small file with explanation in YAML format, how exactly we would like to convert it. For the folder, we definitely put the general explanation. For also, there is possibility to specify the conversion for the specific file. And then we do the preparation and conversion. In preparation, we just split the code on the smaller parts if that is needed again, and then add the prompt from the task file and send it, those pieces sent to the LLM. Again, in a case of LLM, there are 3 options we can use. The LLM on the client side, if they have it available. We prefer to work with the OpenAI, is the best at the moment model for the conversion. Also, we have our own implementation with the embedded LLM, Llama, for example. And also, it's possible to use our Dial LLM, which is a service at EPAM, and lots of developers at EPAM just using this service. And finally, when the code is converted, is committed, our tool just wrap this process, committed to the Git, and we have the pull request, and the reviewer actually review the pull request and reject some files or put the comments how exactly they should be converted. And that is kind of a recommendation for the next iteration. Sorry. Excuse me. Let's look in details how it actually how it organized, right? So We try to be flexible, and that's why we present it in a 3 layers architecture. We have a bridge, which is intermediate language. We have parser and generator. And actually, that very flexible approach, when we just don't need to develop the logic every time we have new source and target, we just change the rules for the parser and rules for the generator. And you see on the screen that if we implemented the migration from SSIS to PySpark in Databricks, and then we have new source like Informatica, we just need to redesign rewrite the rules for the parser. And if you added new target like PySpark in Fabric, we don't need to redesign again the whole product. We just need to change or create new generator for PySpark in Fabric. In case of PySpark, it just changes, not a full redesign of the generator. And the implementation looks like that. So in case of SQL code converter, we use a library, ANTLR, or ANTLR, as you call it. It's a compiler, decompiler library for Python and Java. Initially was created for Java. And there are like file definitions or just language definition files, G4 format, just explaining the grammatics of this language, and actually give us understanding how the SQL code can be parsed and translated to our internal language. In case of SQL, we use the SQL as internal language. Then the next part is generator. Here we have our own logic. There is nothing kind of universal here, but again, it's universal for all other generators just because it's created in a way where you can put the transformation logic in a separate file. And it gives us the possibility to convert from Oracle SQL to Databricks SQL, just going through the intermediate language in ANSI SQL. A very similar approach for ETL. In case of ETL, we don't have programming language as a source. We have XML, and that's why inside the XML, we also could have the SQL logic, for example. We can connect to the database and send the query to the database. And this query would be part of ETL. So in this case, we use both approaches. We still have ANTLR for the SQL converter, but for the XML converter, we use XSLT transformation. It's quite old technology, but really good for XML. There is nothing better for that. And finally, we have XML format, our own representation for the data flow, really close to Airflow, but that's kind of our own language. And finally, we convert it to the target. And as I said, the target could be Python in this case. Let me show you quickly how it looks like for the integration services, for example. And then, if it's possible, if it will be possible, we have time, I will show you the video in the internet. I believe we'll have sound there. Okay, so in case of XML, in case of integration services, we have a set of tasks which are executed with some dependency. You see that here we have the execution of the pipeline with the merge, condition split, and finally we have union all and put everything to the one flat file. In a case of XML, that would be just XML file, and you see on the screen how the XSLT file will be, for example, for the Microsoft Execute SQL task. So we just transform the task to another XML and then process that XML. We don't need to reinvent something here. We just need to create the unified language, because the next source would be Informatica, and we would need to have the same absolutely data flow pipeline, definition of this pipeline, but in our language. Then finally, as I said, for the SQL code, we would need to create some expressions, for example, inside the ETL. We would need to create the language definition file. And here is a G4 file for ANTLR. You see that we have some description for that file, for that expression here, and an example of the expression for testing and how it is represented after the parsing. As I said, it's decompiler. It creates the execution graph, and in each execution node, we will have the executables, which should be converted to the destination language. And that is the result. So we substitute all tasks by the Python functions, and everything was just kind of isolated somehow inside the ETL, represented as a Python functions. Definitely, we process everything in data frames. And finally, we deployed it as an orchestration in the form of the pipeline, and we see it on the bottom of this window. So before switching to demo, I would like to say that Migwiser, it's not a kind of converter we use. It's called Migwiser. It's not only one product. We have different other products for the assessment, for the execution, and for the testing. And on the video, you will see the sequence when we do the assessment, and finally, we do the conversion and the reconciliation, which is data testing. And you see all those projects are presented here on the bottom of the screen. And I will show 3 products: Migwiser Analytics, Migwiser Converter, and Migwiser Reconciler. Today, we are talking about Converter, how to convert to PySpark. And you see the efficiency for this conversion, again, from the real project we had up to 80%. For example, we did the same conversion from Zalando code, from Exasol code, which is Lua. And this Lua code actually was converted to SQL and PySpark. And we at the end, we achieved the efficiency in automatic conversion 85%. It means that 85% of the manual work was substituted by the automated conversion. And assessment, as I said, there's complexity evaluation, dependency evaluation, and presented everything in a migration roadmap approach, vision, I would say, perspective. And finally, data testing, when we connect to the databases and reconcile them together. Good, let me do the magic and switch to the okay. Let me know if you can hear the sound. Can you hear the sound?
Yes, it was clear a moment ago.
Okay, good.
But not anymore.
Excuse me, can you hear?
Not anymore, unfortunately. No sound here. And chat confirms that.
Again. Can you hear the sound?
No, nothing.
Okay, good. So we have a link here. Please share the link, and we have 5 minutes left. The video is 4 minutes. So please review this video by your own. You have a bytecode here, code here, and you can just scan it with your mobile phone and just go to the link. And I'm ready to answer your questions.
Great. Thanks very much for this presentation. It was, well, cloud migration is always a humongous task, and it was a great thing. It rationalized so much and optimized and streamlined. So thank you for that. We have a couple of minutes left, and we have a few questions in the chat. So let's start with Mike. And he asks, how long on average do data migration processes take, small, medium, large project, for the learn to execute stages?
Yeah, for the small project, it could be 3-4 months. The biggest problem in each migration project is cutover, because it really depends on the size of data. You can have small project with several data marts, but with the terabytes of data, it's quite difficult to relate small this project to large. And for the large project, that could be a year and more. Again, if there's a program for the different locations in that organization, so that would be separated to the different projects, and usually they are longer than 8 months.
Okay, thanks. And the other question is asked by Lesa Volovet. Do you have idea how to empower rule-based converter architecture by generative AI?
That's a good question. So it not so easy. We are working on it. The idea is just to generate the rules for the data for the code converter, but for the code generator, this part of that architecture, because here is quite simple and straightforward. But the problem is here is again that flexibility we have created is a bridge, right? We need to learn, we need to send this bridge and explain GenAI how to convert from that language. It doesn't know. In case of NC SQL, probably it's straightforward, but in case of our internal language, it will be a problem. So yeah, if you use GenAI like from end to end, it doesn't make sense to build anything like that. You would just have the approach with a completely GenAI-based conversion. If you would like to generate the rules here, so you would need to send this internal language to the GenAI and teach it to use this internal language and convert from it. So that's the approach.
Thanks. And also Mike shared a thought. MS Fabric, a monolith approach, clearly better, but a difficult sell. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's quite new. There are lots of companies which are funded, where migration is funded by Microsoft, and that's where trying. But if you compare this with the more mature products like Databricks, so I would personally recommend to use Databricks. In some cases, even Microsoft recommends to use Databricks.
Okay, quite interesting. So thank you for all the answers and for the presentation. And before we wrap up, one more questions. Here is to select the winner, the most interesting questions out of the 3 that we just revised.
I would select the second one, if not mistaken, about the generation of the code using GenAI, but inside the rule-based converter. I believe this is a really bright approach. Exactly working on it. So thank you for the question.
Great. Thank you so much. And I guess we already need to move to the next talk. Thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
Right now we are moving to the talk number 3, which will be presented by Stepan Novikov, Senior Solution Architect of EPAM. The topic of this talk would be business and technology architecture, how related. So, Stepan, I can see you, I can hear you.
Yeah, thank you, Dmitro, for this introduction. Let me share my screen. Just give me 1 second. Please let me know then you can see it.
Sure. Yes, I can. Everything looks perfect. The stage is yours.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. And let's start. Thank you for joining this session. And let me remind what this session is about: business and technology architecture, or simply solution architecture or data architecture, and how they are related in general and with some specifics if we talk about data. A couple of words about me. I'm Stepan Novikov, Senior Solution Architect in EPAM, and have more than 20 years of experience in software development in general, plus more than 8 years from them in solution architect roles. I have knowledge in different business and technology domains like energy, engineering, finance, data, machine learning, cloud, and IoT. Other than that, during my work in solution architect position, participated in many pre-sales, discovery, and architecture review activities related to data solutions, which often include a review of previously developed or proposed technical solutions architecture. So during such reviews, noticed one widespread misconception that customers who order IT solution or data solution development should themselves collect, formulate, and submit requirements, holistic requirements, and detailed design documentation to development teams. Such lack of knowledge on how customers' business operates and lack of understanding the way that our digital transformation and data transformation impacts on business and stakeholders may lead to confusions and wrong priorities, eventually resulting in inadequate system qualities to business needs and sometimes even to reality, like it, for instance, can be with not taking into account real numbers of concurrent users and spike loads, external attack on our data and system, or simple misuse of them. That's why during our session, we will discuss business architecture basics such as business drivers, capabilities, model canvas, and value streams. After that, we discuss in a bit more details relationship between business architecture and solution architecture. And finally, you will have a chance to ask your question during our Q&A session. Some of the most high-level things about business architecture are usually about business vision and mission. And we have a lot of courses dedicated to both of them, so we will focus a bit more today on things related to architecture, like it with business goals, drivers, and objectives. And let's start with business goals, with business drivers. Yeah. Business drivers can be associated with some external change or intention of business stakeholders to change and improve or change their business. For example, it can be intention of profit increase, reaction on increase of taxes, or increased customer attraction level. Other than that, it also can happen sometimes that business people can slightly overestimate capabilities of technology and set not always realistic goals, like it, for instance, increase of revenue by use of artificial intelligence and large language models. One of examples from my experience a few years ago, one engineering company slightly overestimated some of computer vision capabilities that time available. And it was important for their business processes to automate manual input based on different paper documents or files like PDFs, etc., with different engineering drawings. But level of technologies at that point of time was not yet developed enough to increase overall level of automation enough. So engineers had to spend on checks and refinement of processing results almost the same time as it required for manual inputs. Fortunately, nowadays it's supposed to be a bit better because we have a lot of progress both in machine learning in general and in computer vision, like it with visual transformers model, for instance, DTR for object detection, SegGPT for segment mask generation, and many other. Business goal is to some extent a bit more specific thing what we try to achieve in accordance with one or more business drivers. It can represent a high-level statement of intent, direction, or desired end state. Like it, for instance, market share increase, decrease of cost, or open new markets. Usually we have some desired measures and timelines either directly or through their objective to set expectations. Objective is an action to achieve business goals. It can be more than one such actions required to achieve one business goal. On the other hand, even one objective can support achieving multiple business goals. Here we have one examples of stated in details objectives to achieve such business goal as profit increase with detailed instruction for instance, for sales representatives to increase numbers of cold calls, along with additional measures to double check every parcel they send to customers, so decrease return rate by 10%. Hopefully, they made it on the basis of data, like with analysis of reasons for returns. If we take one more business goal from one of our previous slides, such as decrease of operational cost, and one more objective to reduce manual work by 10% using new ARM system introduction, we can see that this objective can support both business goals, since profit is basically income minus expenses. So by reducing expenses, we can also increase profit. And visually, it can be represented like that for transparency. It can give us crystal clear representation of what we just talked about relationship between business drivers, goals, and objectives. Name of driver preferably could be a noun. Goals and objectives are generally expressed by using qualitative words. For instance, increase, improve, or reduce. Let's discuss a bit also different approach to set business goals. Here we have two widespread approaches for goals definition, SMART and FAST. The SMART goals methodology has been used by manager and business owners for decades, and in 2018, the MIT Sloan School of Management published a research article where FAST goals were introduced. Both approaches widely used nowadays, so let's explore them a bit more. SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, or relevant, and time-bound. This approach encourages you to ask following question while setting goals. What will be accomplished? What exactly will be accomplished? What action will you take? What data will measure our goal? How much? How well? Is the goal doable? Do you have all necessary skills and resources? How does the goal align it with broader goals? Why a result is important? What is the time frame for accomplishing the goal? The key thing here is that goals are intended to focus attention and resources on what is most important, so that you can be successful in achieving our priorities. FAST stands for frequently discussed, ambitious, specific, and transparent goals. To drive strategy execution, FAST goals can be used, which is embedded in frequent discussion, ambitious in scope, measured by specific metrics and milestone, and transparent for everyone in the organization to see. FAST goal approach was pioneered by such companies as Google and Intel. Regarding frequently discussed, many companies set goals on annual basis. Management and employees typically enter these goals in spreadsheets and then look at them once or twice over the course of the year. At year's end, sometimes accomplishments have little in common with what their goals had been at the year beginning. Making goals based on fiscal quarters rather than annually give team members 4 times opportunities to discuss goals, evaluate them, and adjust them as needed. Monitoring and progress and discussion are key here to business success. So companies like Microsoft and IBM now discuss goals regularly rather than waiting for annual performance review. Ambitious goals are more effective than conservative, achievable goals. If we are using SMART goals, we can set a goal to increase sales, for instance, by 10 or 20% and be done with it. Setting an ambitious, fast goal, you may be inclined to try to double sales instead. After looking at ways to achieve that goal, discussing it and then setting down specific action to reach that goal and ways to measure it, you may find it isn't really realistic, but increase of 50% could be potentially met. Google, for example, requires employees to achieve between 60 and 70% of their targets, and compensation, including bonuses, isn't tied to such target. Making goals specific based on actions and measure with metrics and milestones has been a part of Intel's business model since 1970. Other companies have since adopted this model, including Amazon and Google's. Goals should be defined with specific actions, measurable and clear on how they will be achieved and measured. This is often defined as objective and key result, or OKR. Other companies measure goals using key performance indicators, or KPIs. Defining just a few specific and ambitious goals can increase performance. A study conducted over the past 5 decades has shown that this can increase performance to the 80 percentile. Making goals transparent, we talk about transparency, to everyone in the company may seem more determined and detrimental than beneficial, especially if a company has always kept goals private and confidential in the past. However, in the vast majority of cases, the benefits outweighs any drawbacks, regardless of company's size or industry. Then the business makes its overall goals available to employees. They, in turn, can align their goals and objectives to match companies' strategies. When everyone knows what our other departments are planning to do, they are less likely to make unrealistic demands of those departments and duplicate the work planned by other departments. One more approach, a bit different from smart and fast. Let's discuss it. It's around 2014. Brendan Burchard, author, coach, and trainer, and motivational speaker, coined it dumb goals. He explained it dumb goals as following: D, it's for dream-driven or destiny-driven, means the goal is bigger and tied to your passion and dreams. For instance, I want to be a millionaire. Uplifting means that you are excited about your goal, which makes you want to achieve it. Method-friendly means that you can map our methods to practice that goal. For instance, I'm going to increase my saving, and next year I will go for side job in order to earn more money. Behavior driven means there are triggers connected to your methods that become habit in your behavior. Example, I'm going to start couponing and stop eating out, which will save additional amount money per month. This method of goal setting is different because it's full of passion and energy. It's what business owners want to their lives and for their business. That's why it can be considered as exciting and visionary. It can make basically people up in the morning and gets them going despite issues and struggles. It's also not as clear as smart goals. Dumb goals are larger than life. That doesn't make them better or worse than smart goals. It makes them different. I would say it a bit more strategic. Anyway, smart or dumb goals are usually about business value. If we talk about business, no matter if it's coming from ordinary goods and services or data-related products and services. So business value can be something, can be some revenue and any other benefits that business generates for certain stakeholders. Regarding stakeholders, we can talk about customers of business or other stakeholders, including business owners. For example, it can be in some goods or services like soccer ball, car, consulting, etc. Business value also includes a business long-term ability to create revenue, products, services, employment, quality of life, and investment returns. Business value is not something that can be usually achievable on an empty space. So we need some elements of business architecture which can generate it. For instance, with value streams and use of some business capabilities. Business capability is in general something stable and unique, plus meanwhile it's rather about something that business can do than business actually does. So business capability can be used in different ways for different tasks to perform. Other than that, individual capabilities may not have a purpose and can be defined at any organizational or business units level. A business capability can be considered as a combination of people, roles, processes, information, and tools. It also can be system capabilities associated with business capabilities to either enable them, like for instance with some shopping cart system to enable online sales, or to improve them if we already have available offline shopping capability. Here we have the example of business capability map for typical trading company. In this example, we can see three categories of capabilities, such as company-wide capabilities, reporting and analytics, business core capabilities like sales, logistics, product information management, and enablers like accounting, HR, and IT. Regarding enabler category, here we talk rather about company-wide enablers, and they also can have system capabilities associated with them. For instance, HR can have HR management system to support HR processes automation. Another example from company-wide capabilities can be, for instance, data platform, BI reporting capability, which supporting company-wide reporting and analytical capabilities. Similarly to solution architecture, which is about how solution built and work, business architecture is about how a business is built and work from their building blocks. That's why, accordingly, we have main components of business architecture, namely business capabilities, plus how, with help of those capabilities, business receives or generates value. For example, value streams or value proposition creation. In addition to that, for existence of modern business, informational and organizational components are important because they should support development of business opportunities and improve value proposition plus overall business efficiency. One of the ways to describe how an enterprise creates, deliver, and capture value for its customers, it's business model canvas. With help of business model canvas, we can define high-level business architecture, which defines overall operation model, cost structures, and revenue streams, plus all other key things for business to operate, like customer relationship, distribution channels, and so on. The same as it with high-level solution architecture, there are still not enough details to build a business and understand better its key qualities and metrics, but it can be considered as a good starting point to continue working with more detailed business design. Like it with, for instance, a capability map, value streams, and so on. Here we have this example of visual representation for value streams from orders and materials on the left to receiving finished products, eventually using business capabilities with some help of system capabilities and with something like it with materials to produce balls and ink to paint them. So key business capabilities we have in this value stream are bulk creation and painting, plus supporting transporting and selling capabilities, which potentially also can have system capabilities supporting them, for instance, some payment system. Our business value here is ready painted ball, which can be used by a customer who ordered it initially. Other than that, value streams can be a bit more complicated than we have in this example. All in all, capabilities exist not in void, but usually inside some organization, which also can have some structure. That's why it's also important to understand the entire organizational structure, how it maps to other components of business architecture, and which position our key stakeholders take within it. And organizational chart can help us with that, since it can show the internal structure of any organization, like with different business units, departments, groups, teams, etc., composed hierarchically. Simple example you can see here on the slide, and it usually can be a bit more complicated. During our assignments, we can start quickly, even from opening organizational chart in simple tools like Teams, to build a rapid understanding about company's organizational structure. Anyway, we are a bit more focused on dependencies between business and our data solution architectures. So let's review how we can work with business architecture and impact of it on our solutions architecture. Here we have this, we can review it, how it's possible to work with this example step by step. Here we can start from understanding of business target operating model, and it can be a good idea to start with understanding of vision and mission for business in general, business strategy roadmap, but and it's highly recommended to discuss all such things with management of business to make sure information actuality, and also we can use it as possibility to take into account their personal views and expectation. After that, based on received information, we can work on creating a business model canvas to build a joint vision of a target operational business model. Our next step is to build initial version of business capability map and value streams, plus in mapping of opportunities to streams. Now, then during footprint analysis, together with key business stakeholders, we study which IT enablers are available or needed. Also, for existing systems and data platforms or data warehouses that support how they support business capability. It is possible to use, for instance, scoring techniques to assess their existing effectiveness with help of our key stakeholders. So after that, it looks like we have knowledge of both key business capabilities and about their enablers, such as data and system. We can build, using this information, a strategic roadmap for development of such opportunities, including data platform, analytical, and machine learning solutions. In this way, many separate data project or general data warehouses usually arise in one or several possibilities for the improvement or creating of single data platform and other system. And in many cases, they are only smart parts of the overall plan of digital transformation for the entire company. Let's go ahead with impact of business architecture to solution architecture, starting with structure we just discussed. And according to Conway's law, an organization which designs a system will create a design that reflects the organization's own communication structure. That's why if we understand the organization's communication structure, then it helps to design the components of our system and assign right responsibility to them. Well, let's review it a bit in more details with using of example. Conway's law also plays a role in the time it takes to construct systems. That's because architecture of these products will reflect communication structure at of the teams that are part of that process. If we look at this example, it seems like we have separate teams or groups on the left, which are responsible for certain layers of a system. Then a system may look similar to the organization of such team, like we see in this illustration. So each team has one component associated with them. like it with business process management company, and similarly, user experience expert can form some user experience modules, middleware and data experts, middleware and data correspondingly. You can see it on the right. Sorry. On the other hand, if we organize our team in a slightly different way, we can have different outcomes. In this case, we can get a kind of business-driven architecture. And the thing is, what such kind of designs can be a bit more efficient and transparent in many cases, because its elements inherit their context and scope from the business context of a specific business domain, or even of a specific business capability. Here, changes produced by new business definitions are executed from beginning to the end by can be executed by just one team in many cases. And this helps us to avoid process overhead and produce difference, and often more distributed architectures with greater capacity and flexibility to evolve. In this way, insights gained from business architecture are key to architecture significant requirements understanding and building proper data solution architecture on basis of them. Because of that, only with understanding on how business build, we can consciously build a system that will help business in the most efficient way. For instance, if we understand that a certain system or component supports non-critical business capability, it's maybe not necessary to build a complex solution for high availability and subsequently costly. Then system with lower availability and significantly lower cost may be sufficient. Other than that, many organizations believe solution architecture as an application development or project delivery role, and the reality is a bit more complex. In business architecture cycles, the strategy is discussed to the execution goals of the architecture team. In fact, the strategy of transformation, which makes this process delivery through business and technology solution, whether they're marketing campaigns, new products, or technology changes. That's why our decisions regarding data and technologies to handle it can influence overall organizational context, because, for example, the system can be used not only by our organization itself, but also by its clients, suppliers, or partners. That's why a scope of our data product or system not necessarily have to be limited to a single business capability or even to single organization. And that's why we must pay attention not only to business drivers, goals, and objectives, but also to business capabilities and processes. Other than that, additional requirements and constraints may arise from business model of organization. Plus, last but not least, we need to consider requirements and expectations from our key stakeholders. All in all, we can use our stakeholders' requirements and expectations to build a kind of bridge from business architecture understanding and business requirements understanding, including goals and objectives, to specify requirements for technology solutions. Other than that, we also can have transitional requirements. For instance, this data migration required, or even sometimes streaming data between different systems in sync, which is can be good idea to consider in our solution architecture early, so minimize risk of future rework necessity. In general, we can note that only some subset of business needs, including some business drivers, goals, and objectives, can be achieved with software, hardware, data, and systems and other technology. Plus, only subset of such business needs and requirements can influence architecture significantly. That's why it's important to prioritize requirements not only from business priorities standpoint, but also from architectural impact, technical complexity, and feasibility standpoint. And discuss them with our key stakeholders for transparency. Regarding stakeholders, they can belong to a certain group or business unit, have certain requirements and concerns, plus have some points of view which may require specific view or a representation of our architecture, data products, to show how them address their requirements and expectations. And it matters because, as we discussed it, this is not only about business and processes. It's also about people with their requirements, concerns, and expectations. So it's crucial not only take into account expectation of our key stakeholders, but also actively communicate back with them on how our architecture can address them, right? Other than that, by definition, a stakeholder is a person or group or even organization which influence or influenced by, or if only think that they can be influenced by a decision, an activity, or a project. However, it's not always clear whether certain people or groups are our stakeholders or that we have all stakeholders identified. That's why we can use different techniques for stakeholders discovery, starting with analysis of organizational structure and processes, continuing with interviews and surveys. For example, we can first ask our key stakeholders about other stakeholders. In addition, during meetings and workshops, we can not only identify but also see degree of their influence and interest in our project or product. There are still more advanced approaches like it with persona. There with research outcomes, we can understand more about our stakeholders. For instance, their specific opinions and things they're most interested in or their key concern. In practice, gathering such information requires times and opportunities to communicate with stakeholders and better do it directly. It also can be possible to get some information from emails, history of commits and pull requests or documents. However, in many cases, this may provide us only with a limited amount of information. All in all, understanding on how our decisions about solution architecture can impact our stakeholders, is crucial to involve them in discussions about relevant to them architecture requirements early, so we wouldn't have surprises on later stages. And one of probably most widespread missed stakeholders from my experience, it's, for instance, cybersecurity departments. So architects sometimes can understand that at some point of time that we need to redesign almost the entire solution or some of key its components, for instance, to support single sign-on, role-based access control, data encryption, and so on. Yeah. All in all, alignment of different things with many stakeholders can be quite tricky task that may require separate approaches and tools, especially if we have several groups with different positions on our matters, and or if we talk about distribution of responsibility between different stakeholders, like we have here in this example with a responsibility matrix. In this case, we can say that each activity should be associated with one person who will be accountable for organizing of this activity and checking of outcomes from this activity. In addition, it's recommended to limit number of direct executors of each activity, or responsible are. Here we can see it. Yeah. So that is clear who and what exactly should perform and who is responsible for what. It is also a good idea to make it in form of action items, like we see it here, like gather architecture significant requirements, create high-level architecture, and so on, like create schedule, create project charter, submit project request, etc., etc. In this slide, also we have example of how such responsibility can look like. We have other than that, we also need to include member of our team, like we see here, solution, data architect, because they can also be our stakeholders and be responsible for certain activities, as in this example with data and solution architect. Other than that, it can evolve with time, as we can see it here, for instance, by outcomes of discovery. We may figure out that some roles like tech leads might be unnecessary during MVP phase, and we may require data architect plus some changes in solution architect responsibility in order to accommodate such changes. Okay, let's discuss specifically about data strategy and data platform related, how it's fit data strategy overall blueprint and activities. So if we continue to talk specifically about data-related strategy, roadmaps creation, enterprise-wide, or even for group of enterprises, as we can see, it's from this one example on how a blueprint for such activities can look like. On the left top, we can see our very initial activities, like it with stakeholders and business value identification, mission and vision definition, and it's all based on understanding of our key stakeholders and how business works and which structure it has. And that's why this is crucial for project success, because if something or someone from stakeholders missing here, it can be hard to define proper strategic priorities and design. So suboptimal design can be proposed or even implemented subsequently, which may not satisfy crucial business or stakeholders' needs and expectations. All in all, during our session, we discussed how we can build a rapid understanding of business architecture, identify our key stakeholders, their expectations to make sure our next data project can be as much successful for our customer and team as it possible. And this is basically Q&A time. Do we have any questions so far?
Thanks, Stepan. That was great. Such a informative presentation. Thank you for this opportunity to have a sneak peek into business architecture and solution architecture, and especially the relationship between the two. We actually have a couple of questions in the chat. And the first one is from Denis Taranenko. And this is actually a two-parter. How do you approach changing the architecture during the later stages of development? And how do you handle situations where project requirements are constantly evolving?
Very good questions. Thank you. All what we were discussing previously was dedicated to minimize risk and possibility of changes in architecture later. And anyway, it happens. So if we see what it doesn't work, we need to re-architecture. And in my experience, it's several times, it's many times, but for different reasons, like some missing requirements or information about real environments where our system should work, like number of users, amount of data, it can be objective necessity to re-architecture things, and we need to be transparent with all stakeholders. We need to first discuss it. For instance, what simple optimization or simple things wouldn't have that much. Yeah, we can define short-term goals, like to get low-hanging fruits first and allow business to work without or with minimal interruptions. And we need also to set long-term target. For instance, if business going to increase their market twice or several times, and we hardly can manage a number of requests we have currently, basically it can be reason for re-architecture to something a bit more scalable. And regarding second one, flexible architecture, it's hard because architecture things usually things they're hard to change something. For instance, we cannot rewrite completely existing solution or migrate from one platform to another. But if we envision some changes, so it's matter of envisioning. If we envision some changes, for instance, if we can assume that we can move from one cloud provider to another, we can create architecture which is less dependent on any provider and can be deployed on any cloud provider, whether it's AWS, GCP, or Azure.
Thanks. We have also another question from Marina Mars. And the question is this strategy scalable across different industries?
Yes, absolutely. It's a very high level strategy. It's distilled from many different areas and implemented by me in different business domains, as I mentioned, like finance, energy, engineering, and it's pretty much not independent on some business. It can be applicable for small, like company, and probably for small startups, maybe it's not that relevant but for bigger company and especially for big enterprises, it's much and more applicable. But even for small startup, it can be applicable on this cautious regardless tools we use. So we use only small and more lightweight, I would say, thing, and also our architecture can be a bit more flexible when we don't have that many information up front.
Yeah, thanks for that. We have another question from Denise, and that is, in your experience, what is the best direction to start with to become a solution architect in the future, and why?
Well, I don't know. There is no silver bullet. There is no golden hammer to start architect. So I can say it only about me here. I know many architects, my colleagues, they have absolutely different ways. But in my case, I started with C, with software, with software engineering institute, studied software architecture in practice, read many books about architecture, about patterns, tactics, and many other relevant books, and I found it's useful, and many of practices like quality attribute workshop and for instance, attribute-driven design work very not if we use it smart, not directly as it in a book. We can use some elements, so I found it quite useful.
Thanks. That is indeed useful. So another question we got from Maxim Nikolaevich, and the question is it possible to change business goals during development stage? Maybe it would be better to start a new project.
Yeah, in fact, it's very rare cases in my experience, because usually when we enroll of solution or data architects, we have already defined business goals. But sometimes we can figure out some opportunities, additional opportunities, which were missing initially by business stakeholders, because probably they don't have some technical background, maybe not aware of modern technology, for instance, which dashboards or KPI or how systems of automation and recommendation we can build in additional. So we can recommend such things to improve their business, and they can slightly adjust, if not business goals, but maybe some of objectives, and at the minimum help to support business goals and drivers.
Thank you for this answer. And we are out of questions, so I guess before we complete this session, we need to, well, pretty much choose the winner. What out of the 4 questions we asked you was the most interesting, in your opinion?
The most interesting, in my opinion, it's in agile architecture, because it's most challenging thing, especially in modern agile world. We need to build flexible architecture, not design upfront in a bit more iterative and agile way. So I think this question is very actual and very interesting, and majority of architects working on them very actively long time in order to improve their skills to build such kind of flexible agile architectures, and meanwhile support business goals with in optimal way.
So I guess Denis is our winner for this session. Thank you so much for the talk, and thank you so much for the answers you provided us with. Have a great day, I guess.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good day. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye. And right from this point, we are moving to the last session for the day. And the last session for the day, the last talk, will be presented by Benazir de la Rosa, Senior Data Scientist from EPAM. And she will share insights on Purple Lens. So, Benazir, I can see you, and I believe I can hear you.
Hi, can you hear me well?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, so let's start the presentation. One second. Sorry, I'm not able to click the share button. Okay. Okay, done.
On present and share screen, is it not clickable?
Yes. Now can you see it?
Yes, I can see it perfectly fine.
Perfect. So let's start now. Okay, well, today we're going to discuss about an application. And this application, the name of the application is Purple Lens. I'm Benazir de la Rosa. I'm a senior data scientist here at EPAM. And I have been working for quite some years doing artificial intelligence, and recently working with large language models and transformers architectures. And we are going to talk about something which helps to decode gender bias, and let's get ready to use Purple Lens, everyone. So all of us work in a multicultural environment. We are people from all over the world. We use different kind of glasses. Each one of us grow in different paths, follow different careers, did different things with their lives, live in different countries, and sometimes those glasses have different perspectives. What if we are able to unify these kind of perspectives? What if we can take just one type of glasses to see everything from the same point of view at some point, because we need it? So that's why when we talk about purple lens, these are the glasses that help us to see with the same point of view, with the same perspective. And this perspective comes with equity and avoiding gender bias. Talking about a little bit about this application, this was born at the beginning of the year at the company. We were doing this hackathon, and we were the team Mirabel. The team lead was Ulises Valdez. He's a senior designer in Mexico City. The team strategist was Natalia Usman. She's from Colombia. Then we have Alexandra Gonzalez, Carolina Sanchez, Javier Osorio, Larissa Gutierrez, Daniela Elizondo, and me, Benazir de la Rosa. I was in charge of building the app, and all of us contribute a little bit to make it happen, of course, and come up with this idea of purple lens. So we're going to talk about how to decode gender bias and foster equity. Let's talk about purple lens. To start with, we did a contextual research and workshops to assess the problem space. What were the common needs on this? We were talking about an application which seek for help women for getting a safe and confidential way to report gender biases, seeking for a fair treatment and equal job opportunities and support. And from the men perspective, they were looking forward to identify with their own biases and then improve their management and interpersonal skills. And of course, all of this came with contribute positively to the company diversity and inclusion goals. So our hypothesis based on data, with a system that rapidly recognizes gender bias towards women, we want to avoid this discrimination towards women and the growth in the workspace, but as well we want to help out to mitigate any kind of gender bias situations. So we envision with this application a workplace where individuals' contributes are valued, transcending gender bias. This gender bias comes with the mission to foster an inclusive communication and equality. And of course, cultivating an environment where every voice is heard and acknowledged. And this comes with Purple Lens. Purple Lens is a trained AI model that helps employees and managers identify scenarios of discrimination or exclusion. And we focus on gender bias towards women, however it works for men or any other cultural situation. The perspective of this app is that in the future it can be used for anything that goes from the employee's journey to transcend throughout the company, on projects, onboarding, and performance evaluation, on the assessment, and any regular communication. So Purple Lens is there to help you out with any sort of questions that you have. It can be a chat, it can be by analyzing conversations, it can be by reviewing your emails, etc. So continue with this. Actually, this is one of the first applications that is going to be integrated into the feedback from EPAM. We are currently in development phase, and our purpose will be to have these glasses Purple Lens next to GPT on feedback, such that Purple Lens can give you a small review with respect to your feedback towards your colleague. In this case, for example, someone is going to give a feedback to Andrea, and the feedback goes like this. I've worked with Andrea, and she has seemed to have enough skills to be a pretty good designer one day. In my old days, I saw no woman around, but I have to admit she has managed to have strong arguments, and when I teach her all the abilities. So that's the feedback for Andrea. And this is what the Purple Lens perspective for the Andrea feedback. So apparently we have a gender bias. The phrases like "in my old days I saw no woman around" suggest stereotypes about women's roles or capabilities in this field. And for example, we have as well the phrase where the person states, "She has seemed to have enough skills to be a pretty good designer one day." In this case, the phrase looks slightly rude because you're avoiding a direct, clear statement, potentially because you are looking for evidence that confirms your existing belief. And then, for example, we have as well this other sentence. In my old days, it's also kind of biased. So in this case, Purple Lens supports the user to identify these kind of phrases, which sometimes people do not see it at all. And it helps to give a better feedback without lying to this kind of complicated situation. Purple Lens can be used as well to analyze ourselves when we are in meetings with our coworkers. We're basically writing, we're basically interacting with them, and Purple Lens can review how you interact with your coworker or any other meeting, and then it can give you proper feedback. It can work as well for one-on-one meetings between resource managers and employees. It can work for any other meeting. And of course, the other super cool application that we found out for Purple Lens is to include it as a plugin on Outlook, such that we can write emails in between people in the company or with other outsourcing staff. And then Purple Lens will be there to help us to avoid improper situations. One of these ones comes with this email. So we have this person, Ulises, and then he decided to type an email and send it to Laura. And then the email states, "Hello, this mail is for letting you know we will continue the hiring process with another candidate. Since this job will be in Saudi Arabia, we wouldn't like to put you in a situation where you cannot handle the culture. Thanks for your time and luck in your process. Cheers." So that's the mail that he's about to send to Laura. And this is how Purple Lens will react to that email. "Hey, this message might be taken as aggressive due to some biases I can recognize." And then people can click on the pop-up, and then they will have a proper feedback. And obviously, this lies totally on culture, because it's not okay just to infer upfront that she would not be able to handle interaction with people from Saudi Arabia. It lies into racism, which we don't want to have. Moving forward, our solution, it's basically OpenAI, ChatGPT, and it's a pre-training model based on a large model. In this case, we use GPT-4o. And we fine-tune the model, and we are using prompt engineering. So for process of engineering, we use prompt engineering, and we have multi-shot fine-tuning. We use several cases of discrimination to train the AI to learn what is discriminative and what's not. And in between the examples are mails like these ones, where people write to a person, and it's just inferring bad situations just because of culture, gender bias, or because they outsource activity out of the company activities. So our AI has a temperature of .A. We use top N 500, a frequency penalty of 1, and a best of 10. In general, our prompt is relevant because it always generates something relevant for the user. It's consistent because we always get responses that are coherent with respect to gender bias situations, and it's always comes with responses that are oriented to what we train to do the AI. 1 second, please. Okay. And then it's a diverse in low degree, as it mentioned, as positive or negative situations. this is the proof of concept of purple lens. In here, we can see a manager wondering how to interact with a society or a multicultural team, and then purple lens is giving suggestions of how he can handle a multicultural team and then avoid gender bias situations. And then, for example, he has another question. He wants to hire a person, the same thing, but the position is in Middle East and it's a girl, and then he doesn't know how to ask this because it can be slightly edgy. So purple lens gives orientation to the manager and provides possible questions and how to ask properly without lying into a problem. And then, for example, another case with respect to another employee, he just overheard something with respect to pregnancy women and that they should be on bench because they are pregnant. And then Purple Lens replies to him that it's not okay because that goes, that what we are doing with that kind of behavior, it's that we are lying to discrimination, and we should not do discrimination at all. Given our purpose as a company to be inclusive and always act properly. So Purple Lens, it's something that comes here to help out people with respect to all of these kind of situations that we would like to avoid. And of course, all of this comes with situations that end up in lawsuits, where an employee can proceed with a lawsuit and get against the company because certain situation took place, and then the company needs to pay for it. That's one of our value propositions. So right now, moving forward with our value proposition comes with evolving employee experience for underrepresented groups, and we are talking about women, LGBT community, different cultures, and obviously it comes with everyone wearing the same type of glasses, the Purple Lens glasses. And what we get out of it? Well, we gain creators, we support culture, inclusivity, and diversity, and then the paid relievers that we get, it's that we always offer a safe place of work. It's always without discrimination, proper relationships, interpersonal communication that goes aligned with the same type of glasses. And of course, do not forget to, it reduces the work of the HR department in terms of interventions. And we have as well our user profile at high level. It goes to our gains. We enhance understanding of diversity and inclusion, leading to more informed decision, and there are no drivers. It comes to report or assess gender bias towards women without fear or repercussion, and of course, get fair treatment for everyone. And our pains, of course, what we are going to solve with this, well, situations where people get this are victims of discrimination, and that discrimination comes with people who really do not understand, that do not see with the same type of glasses, Purple Lens glasses. In terms of everything, well, the product goals are to raise awareness, increase their understanding and recognition of gender biases in the workplace, engage and educate, because we educate EPAMers in gender bias toward women. We foster inclusivity because we encourage a culture of inclusivity and diversity where biases are discussed and addressed, and promote behavioral change, which means all of us can learn what's okay, what's not good, and what needs to be changed on ourselves. And that's how we wear the Purple Lens glasses, because with Purple Lens, we are able to see when we are doing something inappropriate, and we can use it. So are you willing to see the new perspectives, the perspective of Purple Lens? Now, let's start our question and answer session. Anyone has any question?
Thank you, Benazir, for this presentation and for the product itself. While our viewers are still thinking about the questions, let me ask one. First one is like, do you consider the opportunity of prompt fine-tuning, and might it be useful for your solution?
Oh, yes. In this case, we use prompt engineering, and we're working on the app to implement it on feedback. We actually are discussing about it with the head of data science department, Martin Lopatka. And yes, we use it, and we use proper fine tuning and prompt engineering, and it works well.
Mm. Yeah, that's nice to hear. Nice to hear.
Yes, actually, the video demo it lives on the EPAN chat lab where we can interact with ChatGPT, and then we can load it in there.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks. By the way, we got a question in the chat.
Yes.
Give me a second. Nadia asks, how do you care about ethical concerns and bias within your solution?
Oh, the ethical concerns. Of course. Well, ethical. It is trained with a code of ethics from EPAM. So the code of ethics from EPAM is going to take into account when building or integrating Purple Lens. And in terms of bias, we have a team of different people. Some of them work on the HR area. Some others were UI designers, and everyone put examples of different kind of situations that they thought it can come with gender bias or culture problems, and then we use all those examples to teach Purple Lens how to detect the bias. In total, we use around 80 examples, and we are looking forward to extend examples of the train of Purple Lens for the integration.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for that. That was informative. On top of that, I actually had a question because, like, maybe I missed it, but it was mentioned that it was already used to identify bias against women. What about other potential biases?
Oh, it works as well with the other potential biases. We actually use it with a male person, and we mimic the case where the person asked review a case, and he was in the problem where he asked for the maternity leave days, but he was a man. But Purple Lens was trained with the EPAM Code of Ethics, and given his land of his country, he was entitled to get those days, and then Purple Lens oriented him with respect to that situation, and he can talk about it with the HR, and then he can talk as well in the ethics platform.
Yeah, that's nice to hear. And in terms of actual usage, I believe it is on the integration phase for a bunch of EPAM's internal products, right?
Yes, exactly. We will try. The first one is going to be the feedback platform. So we will integrate the feedback and the feedback Purple Lens because we want to avoid lawsuits. Basically, I think a couple of months ago, or yes, Google had to pay a lot of money because of gender discrimination lawsuit. So definitely, Purple Lens can help out with these situations.
Yeah, great to hear that, to be honest. It's always great to see solutions that help us to at least identify the unconscious bias and at least make it conscious. When it helps us address the bias itself, it's even better. So thank you very much. And yeah, give me a second. Oh, by the way, we got one more question in the chat in the meantime. So, question from Maxim. Are there any positive changes in company culture after introduction of this product?
Well, the first change is you will notice it that it's going to be on the feedback platform. But on top of it, I think it's going to help definitely with different people with different cultures, because something that it's not a problem for a culture, it's really like harassment for the other one. And therefore, I think it's definitely helpful.
Mm.
And that's the perspective of it.
Mm.
To foster equity in the company.
Mm. Would it be correct to assume that we are just too early in the adoption of the tool to properly estimate its effect?
Can you repeat the question, please? I didn't hear
Yeah, I
properly.
mean, when I believe we are just integrating this into feedback platform at the moment. We did some test runs, but to properly estimate its effect on the culture of the company, it's just too early. We will just see the effects, well, maybe in a couple of months.
Oh, yes, exactly. It's not going to be immediately, but I think through all the years, I mean, we implemented, and then after 2-3 years, we might see the impact. And of course, I think it's a really helpful tool for people when they write anything online.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for the presentation and for Q&A. And I guess it's time to wrap up. And before we complete the session, one final question. We got two questions asked from the chat about the ethical concerns and bias within the solution, and about positive changes in the company culture. So which one do you consider the most interesting out of two?
Okay. Okay, are there any positive changes in company culture? Okay. So in this case, I think for the introduction, okay, we're going to see the changes later on, not now. But it's going to be helpful. And so in here we have Oscar Montana. Benazir graduated from TU Dell. How did it affect the development of this tool? Well, no, it didn't affect. Not yet. No, I really didn't have any person from TU Dell supporting or helping out with this tool. So there are no TU Dell contributors. We just have people from EPAM working on it.
Okay, thanks. And yeah, returning to my question, out of the questions from chat that we got, which one is the most interesting in your opinion? Because like we have a prize today for every author who got the most interesting question.
I think the one with respect to how do you care about the ethical concerns and bias within your solution, I think it's a very good question. Yeah, because it's always a problem, and we are always lying to this problem of hallucination at some point with the AI. And it's something that it's happening, and we cannot control it, but we can obviously be aware of it. And it is not super visible. I mean, ChatGPT 4 works well, but of course there are other versions of ChatGPT which work less. Were not good. For example, 4.0 Mini, it has problems to do mathematical equations, and it gives bad results sometimes. GPT-4 doesn't fail at it in most of the cases. So yeah, I think that's a good question. I'm sorry, it's just that I'm not able to read properly Cyrillic letters, but that's a good question.
Yeah, that's Nadia Birbon. We know how to find the author. Okay, thank you so much again for your work, for the presentation, and for Q&A. And have a nice rest of the day.
Yep, you do. Bye.
Bye. And to our dear audience, thank you so much for your attention, for your patience, and for your questions today. unfortunately, this day is over, at least in this stream. And yeah, thank you so much for being with us here today. And good luck.